You're really going to let me go to the hospital alone? Stop being dramatic. Get out of the car. You're making a mess. I stood frozen in the parking lot, amniotic fluid soaking the ground beneath my feet, my 9-month belly heavy with life, while the man I once trusted without question sped off into the night, without a single moment of hesitation. It wasn't the first time he hurt me, but this time it changed everything. If someone had told me that the lowest moment of my life would open the door to a future I never dared to dream of, I wouldn't have believed them, but that's exactly what happened. My name is Emily Carter, and I'm 9 months pregnant with my first child. It's a journey filled with excitement and anxiety. Excitement for the new life I'm about to welcome, and anxiety because everything feels so new. I once thought I was lucky to have a husband by my side, Ryan, a white-collar office worker with stable hours. But since I started my maternity leave, things began to shift in a way I couldn't ignore. Every weekend, Ryan spends his time at his parents' house. No real reason, he just likes being there. They live just a few blocks away, and yet it feels like they exist in a completely different world. He rarely helps with chores or shopping. It's as if the moment I stopped working, I also stopped existing as his equal. Despite my growing belly, I still do all the housework, laundry, cooking, cleaning, even grocery shopping. When things are too heavy, like bags of rice or bottled water, I rely on kind friends to help. Each morning, I wake up early to make breakfast for Ryan and see him off. Only then do I begin the never-ending cycle of domestic tasks. Since I've been on leave, I've taken up blogging. Every day, I post little glimpses of my life. Photos of flowers blooming in the garden, homemade meals, and sunny skies. These small joys keep me sane. My friends leave kind comments, and in a strange way, their digital warmth makes up for what I lack at home. One evening, while I was preparing dinner, Ryan came home. He tossed his bag and jacket onto the couch like always. I quietly picked them up and hung them by the door. "Welcome home," I said. "I made hamburgers tonight." "I'm going to shower," he replied, not even making eye contact. 3 years of marriage, and kindness had become a rare luxury. I often asked myself, is this what marriage is supposed to feel like? But I stopped questioning. I stopped expecting. I just accepted. After he showered and returned in his pajamas, I handed him a glass of water. "Where's the beer?" he asked, scanning the bar shelf. "Oh, I forgot to pick some up. I'll grab it tomorrow." "Seriously? Go get it now." I blinked. My feet were swollen, my belly heavy, and yet, if you want it that badly, why don't you get it yourself? It's hard for me to move around right now. His face twisted in anger. "You forgot it, so you fix it. Being pregnant doesn't mean you get special treatment. My mom always said women should stay active during pregnancy. It's good for the baby." I knew that when Ryan was angry, arguing would only escalate things. So, against every ounce of dignity I had left, I grabbed my wallet and left for the convenience store. Outside, I ran into Margaret, our neighbor. "Emily, out late tonight?" she greeted me cheerfully. "Yeah, Ryan wanted beer. He wasn't happy that I forgot." Margaret frowned. "Couldn't he just go get it himself?" I said that. He didn't listen. She didn't press further, just walked quietly beside me until we reached the crossroad. When I got back home, Ryan was sprawled on the sofa watching TV. The table was still cluttered with dishes. "What took you so long? Were you wandering around or what? Give me the beer." His words stabbed deeper than he knew. But I stayed silent, handed him the can, and began cleaning up the dinner he hadn't even acknowledged. How could he say such things to me? Especially now, when I need him the most. I wanted to scream, to cry, to ask him why he was doing this. But I knew it would only lead to another shouting match. So I said nothing. I ate my lukewarm dinner alone, took a bath, crawled into bed, my body aching from exhaustion. But my heart ached far more. The next morning, Ryan acted like nothing had happened. He cheerfully tied his tie while I washed dishes in silence. "Why are you sulking? Don't take it out on me," he said, stuffing toast into his mouth. "Be a little more considerate. You know, appreciation goes both ways, right?" I almost laughed. Does he even hear himself? But I said nothing, just sighed and waved goodbye as he walked out the door. And then, from inside my belly, I felt a small kick, a reminder. I'm not alone anymore. And maybe it's time I started living like I wasn't. That evening, Ryan messaged me saying he wouldn't be home for dinner. He had a drinking party with coworkers. I sighed, not out of relief that I didn't have to cook, but because I wouldn't have to face his cold stare across the dinner table. I prepared a simple meal just for myself, some soup and buttered bread. The house was quiet, almost too quiet. I sat at the table under the warm kitchen light, trying to enjoy a peaceful moment, something that had become increasingly rare. But just as I lifted my first spoonful of soup, the door opened. "I'm home," Ryan muttered, stepping in unsteadily, the stench of alcohol hitting me immediately. "I thought you had dinner out tonight," I said carefully. "My party got canceled. I'm hungry. You have food, right?" "I only made something small for myself. You told me you wouldn't be home." Ryan scowled at the plate I had set for myself. His voice sharpened. "You didn't think I might come back? This is ridiculous." He walked over to the table and eyed the modest dinner I had made. His expression turned to outright disgust. "This is what you call a meal? I'm seriously questioning whether you know how to do your job as a housewife. Don't waste the money I work for on garbage like this." "I'm sorry. I'll make you something else. Please don't get angry." "Maybe you should learn how to cook properly from my mom. Honestly, your cooking has always been subpar." He always compared me to his mother. Always. And every time it felt like a slap in the face. "I can't eat this," he snapped. "Go buy something decent." My heart sank. It was already late. I'd taken a bath. I was exhausted. Why couldn't he just go himself? "Forget it. First, you forgot the beer yesterday. Now this. I've had it. I'm going to my parents' place." He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. And strangely, I felt relief. The next morning, as expected, my phone rang. It was Ryan's mother. Her voice, sharp and disapproving, came through clearly. "How could you not prepare a proper meal for Ryan? This borders on emotional abuse, if not worse." I tried explaining what had happened, but she wouldn't hear it. In the end, I just apologized and hung up. After the call, I felt emotionally drained. With Ryan out of the house, I made myself a late brunch and took my time, trying to enjoy the quiet. But the thought of him returning that night loomed like a shadow. Despite everything, I decided to make dinner that evening special. Maybe, just maybe, it would prevent another explosion. I went shopping carefully, picking out the freshest ingredients. I even bought his favorite beer. I wanted to do everything right. I spent extra time in the kitchen. The table looked beautiful, like something out of a magazine. I even lit candles. I stared at it for a long time, proud and hopeful. Surely he'll appreciate this. I waited. An hour passed, then 2. Still no sign of Ryan. I called his phone. No answer. I texted him. Nothing. My heart started pounding. What if something happened? I called his parents' house. "He's not here," they said casually. I hung up, worry spreading through me. I kept calling over and over, still no response. Just before midnight, I heard the door unlock. Ryan stumbled in, clearly drunk. "I'm home," he slurred, barely standing. I rushed to him. "Are you okay? What happened?" "Too loud," he muttered, waving me off. "Go away." I tried to steady him, but he shook off my hand violently. "Don't touch me. Don't come near me with that ugly face. I can't believe you're my wife." His words cut deeper than any blade. My hands froze mid-air. My chest ached. He collapsed onto the floor, mumbling incoherently. I stood there, silent, numb. I had spent hours cooking, hoping, trying, and in return, I was told I was disgusting. That night, I sat alone at the candlelit table. The food had gone cold. The candles flickered out one by one, and something inside me broke. The next morning, Ryan woke up rubbing his head. "Ugh, my head. I drank too much," he muttered. Then, casually, "Why'd you leave me lying in the hallway all night?" I turned toward him, stunned. "You passed out. I tried to help you up. You pushed me away." He scoffed. "Still, you're my wife. Isn't it your job to take care of me when I'm drunk?" Those words struck something deep inside me. He always had a way of twisting blame, even when it was obvious he was in the wrong. "If you weren't going to eat at home, the least you could have done was let me know," I said quietly. "I made a special dinner. I called you so many times. Why didn't you pick up?" He waved it off. "The drinking party got rescheduled. What, am I supposed to report every little thing to you? Besides, you know it's hard to check your phone during a party." Every word made me feel colder and smaller. This is who I married, I thought. Ryan poured himself coffee and muttered, "I'm taking a break. I'm heading to my parents tomorrow. Being around you lately is just unpleasant." Something inside me snapped. It wasn't the yelling. It wasn't the emotional manipulation. It was his complete lack of care. His refusal to see me, not just as his wife or a pregnant woman, but as a human being. I placed a hand on my stomach. The baby kicked gently as if reminding me, "I'm still here. You're not alone." That evening, Ryan came home unexpectedly early. I braced myself. "Hey," he said, walking in like nothing had happened. "Let's go on a trip soon. My parents want to join. A family getaway." "A trip?" I asked, confused. "Now?" "Yeah, just before the baby comes. 2 nights, 3 days. Everything's already planned." "But next week is my due date." He rolled his eyes. "How many times do I have to tell you? Just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you're sick. It'll be fine. Just sit in the car. Stop overreacting." "Ryan, what if something happens on the way? It's not safe." "Enough," he snapped. "I said we're going. Just pack your things." He left the room before I could respond. My heart pounded. I felt like a prisoner being told where to go, how to act, what to feel. The next day, I told him I didn't feel well and needed to rest. "You can rest in the car," he said coldly. "Now hurry up. We're heading to my parents first." I reluctantly got in the car. As I settled into this passenger seat, I felt a strange warmth between my legs. Then the unmistakable sensation of fluid spreading beneath me. My water had broken. "Ryan," I said urgently, "I think my water just broke. We need to go to the hospital. Now." He looked at me, startled. "You're kidding." "I'm serious. Please, Ryan, the baby's coming." He looked down at the seat, then back at me, and suddenly opened the passenger door. "Get out!" "What?" "You're making a mess in my car." "Get out. I'll clean this up later." "Ryan, what are you saying? I need to get to the hospital." "You'll be fine. Just call an ambulance or something. I'm not ruining this trip." And just like that, he pulled me out of the car, his pregnant wife, and left me standing alone in the parking lot, soaked, panicked, and speechless. I barely had the strength to dial 911. But before I could finish, I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Emily? Oh my God, are you okay?" It was Margaret. I turned around, barely able to stand, clutching my belly as the pain started to ripple through me. Margaret rushed toward me, her eyes wide with alarm. "Oh my God, Emily! Did your water just break?" I nodded, trembling, my voice cracked. "Ryan, he left me. He said I was making a mess in his car and just drove away." Margaret didn't waste a second. "Okay, we're getting you to the hospital, right now." She flagged down a special medical taxi, the kind designed for emergencies like this. Then she held my hand tightly as we waited, her steady presence anchoring me through the panic. As the taxi sped toward the hospital, I gripped her hand with all the strength I had left. My contractions were starting, short at first, then stronger, sharper. I was scared. No, I was terrified, but Margaret didn't let go. "I'm here," she whispered. "You're going to be okay." At the hospital, she handled everything. Check-in, forms, even explaining the situation to the nurses. Then she stayed by my side, holding my hand, wiping my forehead, encouraging me through each contraction. Eventually, she called my parents. By the time they arrived, my labor was intensifying. My mother gasped when she saw me, rushing to my side, while my father stood frozen for a moment, then gently rested a hand on my shoulder. Margaret leaned in and whispered something to them. The three of them exchanged looks, serious ones, and then quietly stepped out of the room. As I was wheeled toward the delivery room, my phone vibrated on the table. I asked one of the nurses, "Who is it?" My mother checked the screen and replied, her voice tight, "It's Ryan." I closed my eyes and shook my head. "Please, just turn it off." She did, and I knew that was the right choice. The labor was long and grueling. But hours later, after pushing through pain I didn't think I could survive, I heard the first cry of my child. A baby boy. Tears poured down my cheeks. Exhaustion washed over me. But when I opened my eyes, I saw the faces of the 3 people who never left my side. My mom, my dad, and Margaret. Their smiles were full of warmth, real warmth, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt safe. When I woke up again, it was early morning. The room was quiet. My son was in the nursery getting tests done. My parents were sitting by my bed, watching over me like sentinels. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" My mother asked gently. I nodded, too tired to speak. My father wiped away a tear before it could fall. My mom took his hand and whispered, "She's going to be okay. She's strong." I smiled, though my body still ached. Their love was quiet but deep, and in that moment it felt like a balm over every wound I had carried for months. I looked around the room. "Where's Margaret?" I asked. "She left just a little while ago," my mom replied. "But she said she'll be back." I nodded slowly, my heart filled with gratitude. If it hadn't been for Margaret, I didn't even want to imagine what might have happened. "I want to go see her after I'm discharged," I whispered. "I want to thank her properly." Later that day, I turned on my phone to share the news of the baby's birth. Dozens of missed calls flooded the screen, all from Ryan. But I felt nothing. No curiosity, no regret, no pain, just a calm certainty. I no longer needed to hear his voice. One of my close friends came to visit me at the hospital. She hugged me tight and cooed over the baby, then sat beside me as I quietly told her what had happened. She was horrified, angry. She even half joked about getting revenge for me. But then she softened and said, "Right now, your only job is to rest and heal." She was right. Later, my parents, already informed by Margaret, gently asked me, "So, what do you want to do next?" I didn't hesitate. "I want a divorce." After I told my parents I wanted a divorce, there was no shock, no protest, only quiet understanding. "We'll support you every step of the way," my father said firmly. My mother nodded, her voice gentle but certain. "You've endured enough, sweetheart." For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. I asked the hospital staff to screen my visitors. I didn't want any unexpected confrontations. And sure enough, Ryan came to the hospital. But per my instructions, he wasn't allowed in. He left angry messages, the same ones he'd been flooding my phone with for days. "You're overreacting. Let me see my son. You think you're perfect? You're not." His words didn't sting anymore. They simply confirmed what I already knew. Ryan wasn't sorry for what he'd done. He was just sorry he had lost control. 2 days after I gave birth, Margaret returned to the hospital with a soft smile and a basket of fruit. "You're looking better already," she said warmly. "But don't overdo it. Postpartum recovery can be brutal." I reached out, took her hand. "Margaret, I don't even know how to thank you." She laughed lightly. "You already did, by getting through it. You and your baby are safe, and that's what matters." Then her tone shifted. "I spoke to my husband," she said carefully. "He knows what happened." My heart jumped. Her husband, Mr. Hamilton, was the CEO of the company where Ryan worked. "Wait, you told him?" She nodded. "I didn't give him every detail, but I told him enough." Mr. Hamilton was known for his strict values, loyalty, family, integrity. Ryan had no idea that my kind neighbor Margaret was married to the man who signed his paychecks. Why would he? He'd never bothered to meet our neighbors. He hadn't even joined me for our first introductions when we moved into the neighborhood. Margaret gave me a look. "He's furious." I stared at her, stunned. "He's going to fire Ryan?" "He's been suspended pending investigation. But yes, it's very likely." I blinked in disbelief. She placed her hand gently on mine. You didn't do anything wrong, Emily. What he did was unforgivable. You shouldn't have had to go through that alone. I couldn't stop the tears. Not out of sadness, but gratitude. That night, back at my parents' home, they had prepared a warm room for me and the baby. My mother gently rocked little Ethan to sleep while my father helped me organize legal documents. We contacted a family lawyer, an old friend of my father's, who agreed to represent me pro bono. I want full custody, I told him, and I don't want Ryan near us. The lawyer was calm and thorough. He reviewed all the evidence, the missed calls, the voicemails, the witness statements, the viral video, everything. We have more than enough, he said confidently. Let me handle the rest. Ryan, unsurprisingly, refused to sign the divorce papers. He claimed I was being irrational. He argued that he didn't owe child support if he wasn't allowed to see the baby. He said I was turning people against him. The lawyer reached out. My client does not wish to communicate directly with you. All further contact will go through my office, he said. It's up to Emily whether or not to proceed with court action. Ryan, faced with the possibility of legal proceedings and a public record of his behavior, faltered. Then Margaret called again. Her tone this time was lighter, almost teasing. You know, she said, have you considered filing for a portion of Ryan's retirement fund? I laughed, a real, unexpected laugh. It was the first time in a long while I felt powerful. Margaret's voice grew firm. He deserves consequences, and you deserve peace. She was right. I didn't need revenge. I didn't even want to see him suffer. I just wanted him to stop having power over my life. And now, he didn't. That afternoon, my lawyer called. Ryan is requesting a phone conversation. He wants to speak with you, under supervision. We'll be on the call together. Are you comfortable with that? I paused. A part of me wanted to hear his voice, not because I missed him, but because I wanted to face him one last time and close this chapter properly. I'm ready, I said. That evening, I sat in the living room at my parents' house. My lawyer was seated beside me. My mother gently rocked Ethan in the next room while my father stood by the door, arms crossed, a protective look in his eyes. We initiated the video call. Ryan's face appeared on the screen. He looked rough, his eyes sunken, unshaven, clearly sleepless. Finally, he muttered. You're actually answering. I said nothing. He forced a sigh. I'm sorry, okay? Is that what you wanted to hear? He leaned closer to the camera. Come home, Emily. The house is a mess. I'm getting strange looks at work. People whisper behind my back. All because of you. I raised an eyebrow. Not once did he mention the baby. Not once did he ask how I was. You didn't have to make this public, he continued. You humiliated me. I finally spoke. I didn't post anything. Someone else saw what you did. The world is angry because your actions were inexcusable, not because I told them to be. Ryan scoffed. You're recording this, aren't you? He spat. What, planning to take me to court? That's low, Emily, even for you. I looked at my lawyer, then back at the screen. Yes, I said calmly. This call is being recorded, and it will be used as evidence if necessary. He froze. You can't do that. That's not fair. Nothing you did was fair, I replied. You abandoned your pregnant wife in a parking lot and left her to give birth alone. That's not something a decent person does, Ryan. He changed tactics. Okay, I'm sorry. I messed up, all right? But we loved each other once, didn't we? Can't we try again for the baby's sake? I took a deep breath. You don't get to use love as an excuse after you destroyed everything it stood for. And don't speak about my son. You gave up your right to be a father the moment you told me to get out of your car while I was in labor. His eyes narrowed. No one else is going to love you, Emily. Not after all this. I smiled softly. That's where you're wrong. I already have more love than you'll ever understand. From my family, from my son, from the people who stood by me when you left. And with that, I looked at my lawyer. I think we're done here. I reached forward and ended the call. The silence that followed was not empty. It was peaceful. My lawyer turned to me. That recording is more than enough. We'll proceed. The divorce was finalized within weeks. I was granted full custody of Ethan. Ryan was ordered to pay child support, and if he defaulted, it would be taken directly from his retirement account. The house, thankfully purchased under my name before marriage, remained mine. Mr. Hamilton, upon reviewing everything, issued a formal termination notice to Ryan. Failure to uphold the ethical standards of our company, it read. Ryan lost his job. Without a paycheck, he defaulted on his loans and moved back in with his parents. I heard whispers from neighbors. Ryan struggled to find new work. The video followed him everywhere. Even his parents couldn't escape the fallout. People stopped speaking to them at church and in the community. But I didn't care anymore. For the first time in years, I didn't care what Ryan was doing or what happened to him. I didn't need him to hurt. I didn't need him to beg. I just needed him gone. And he was. After the court finalized my divorce, everything felt quieter, not just around me, but inside me. There were no parades, no fireworks, just stillness, peace. And in that silence, I started to heal. Ethan was the light of my life. His giggles, his tiny fingers gripping mine, the way he looked at me like I was his whole world. These little things grounded me every day. They reminded me that love doesn't have to hurt. Love can be soft, safe, and quiet. My parents embraced their new roles as grandparents with full hearts. My father, once reserved and stoic, now cooed and rocked Ethan to sleep like a seasoned pro. My mother found joy in cooking for me again, teaching me family recipes I never had time to learn before. The house was filled with warmth, laughter, safety, and through it all, Margaret stayed close. A few weeks after my discharge, my parents, Ethan and I, visited her home to thank her properly. She welcomed us with open arms and homemade pastries. Her husband, Mr. Hamilton, the CEO of Ryan's former company, was there too. He wasn't the intimidating man I'd imagined. He was warm, gentle, and surprisingly good at making Ethan laugh. While our parents chatted over tea, Margaret and I sat on the porch, watching the sunset. "You saved me," I told her. Not just that day, but in ways I'll never forget. She smiled, sipping her tea. "You saved yourself, Emily. I was just lucky enough to be there when you did." That day marked the beginning of something unexpected. My parents and Margaret's family grew closer. They bonded over parenting stories, garden tips, and shared values. It was comforting to see our families blend so naturally, without judgment or tension. Then, I met Nathan, Margaret and Mr. Hamilton's son. He was my age, tall and soft-spoken, with calm eyes and a steady presence. At first, I was guarded. After everything I'd been through, love, especially the romantic kind, felt distant and dangerous. But Nathan didn't push. He just showed up, gently, consistently. He helped fix a leaky faucet in my parents' kitchen. He offered to babysit Ethan when I needed a nap. He brought over coffee during one of my tougher mornings and sat on the porch, simply keeping me company while Ethan slept in his stroller. There was no rush, no pressure, just kindness. One afternoon, as we walked through the park with Ethan, he turned to me and asked softly, "What do you want now, Emily?" "Not for anyone else, just for you." I paused. No one had asked me that in so long. "I want peace," I said. "And to raise Ethan in a world where he knows he's loved, really loved." Nathan smiled. "I'd like to help with that, if you'll let me." Something inside me loosened. Months passed. Ethan learned to crawl, then babble, and our two families became nearly inseparable. Margaret and my mother hosted joint dinners. My father and Mr. Hamilton became gardening buddies. It was like a life I never imagined was forming quietly around me. And slowly, Nathan and I grew closer, not through grand gestures, but through steady, unwavering presence. One evening, during a quiet family barbecue in Margaret's backyard, Ethan toddled toward Nathan, arms wide. Nathan scooped him up without hesitation. My heart caught in my throat. Not from fear, but from hope. I realized then that the life I'd feared I'd lost had only just begun. No, I didn't need Ryan's apology. No, I didn't need revenge. I had freedom. I had love. I had a future. And one day, if the stars align, I may just become part of Margaret's family in the most unexpected way of all. But until then, I'm simply grateful. Grateful to be seen, to be heard, grateful to be free, because sometimes the greatest victory isn't leaving someone behind, it's finding yourself on the other side.